Hey, Decathlon Gamer, welcome back to F1 Manager 23, episode 84. I think going forward, here's my thought process as we are nearing the release of F1 Manager 24, nearing the entrance into the next series with the next iteration of the game. I don't think there's a whole lot more we could do with this team other than getting through this season. I don't think we're going to get to a point of winning. Can we score more points than we are currently? Yes, probably. Absolutely. But at this point, I think I'm committed more towards the idea of one race per episode and trying to go for it. There's going to be some tracks that we are really, really uncompetitive at, and therefore we might still have the occasional two race one episode scenario, but I'm more of the mind of kind of going for it. Our development has slowed, at least at the top end. Driver development update. Let's see. I mean, is it cornering and braking +1 for Flourish? I mean, that is gonna help her be faster, but she still has a 61 for reactions. But cornering +1 for Tanaka, that definitely helps her. She does have improved reactions at a 75 +14. Why is she so much slower? Cornering, okay, but braking's better. Control lags behind. She still makes those mistakes, but then that smoothness, right? It hurts. There's always something. She can't defend. There's always something. As for Brun, who's just like flying along her way, but also lagging in certain ways. Her reactions is only a 63, but her accuracy is non-existent. Her cornering and braking is very competitive at this point, but just something's missing, right? Her adaptability. Her defending's better. It's just something. There's always something. How much ground can those two make up on Flourish in a short period of time? Confidence remains at medium for the time being. 34 million is maybe enough. What was it that we need for that last update? 28 million? 6 million. We're 11 days away, but we already have updates going. Hold on. Hold that thought. Nothing's going to happen in the next 11 days. I've already made the single part. You know what? Let's do it. Final upgrade in the car development facilities. This hurts like hell. If we were to continue into another series, is we're going to start losing our pit crew pretty rapidly. We're going to drop off the top. Sadly, we're in number 2 spot right now when we should be going out with a bang. Clear, comfortable number 1 on where we're at with our pit crew development. But Anna Barnard is retiring at the end of this season. It actually turns out that, this image doesn't mean squat. She is in her 60s and she is ready to call it a day, apparently, which is sad because she is our best staff member. And as for a replacement, for one thing, she's actually only number 9 overall. She's not crazy good, but her points are in the right place. Right, she's got a 100 in training. Her aptitude is a 96. Her process is a 95. The one that doesn't matter as much. I mean, it does matter, but the lesser attributes a 65 overall. So really, she's where it counts. She's about a 97, 98 for her rating. It's going to be hard to replace that. Right now, we have a 4% chance of making a mistake. Even when you get to Sunday and you're a little more fatigued, we still have a below 5% chance of making a mistake. Our average, our estimated pit stop time is 2.43 seconds. Yet our season performance, we have had 3 races in which we've had lengthy ones, usually due to wing replacements, in 11 races so far. But then the average pit stop time, over 3 seconds, nearly 3 seconds, over 3 seconds, 3 races, key mistakes. Less than 5% chance, yet in 11 races. 5% chance it should be 1 mistake in 20 races. Yet we've had 3 chief mistakes in 3 races, and over the course of the other races, 1, 2, 3 of them, were averaging over 2.6 seconds. Well below what is our estimated average. And only have we been a 2.4 average stop only once this season. So our pit crew really is letting us down. The pit crew is, on paper, the best. So far this season, the average performance has been second best. And obviously the real problem is the drivers, not the pit crew. But the pit crew has been a problem this season. They are not doing what is expected. They are not doing the average. Obviously, these 3 days have been impacted by the drivers. But the other 8 days, they've only been average once all season. Out of 8 opportunities have they been average. 1 opportunity, they've nearly been average. They've been slow 3 times. They've been desperately slow, making mistakes 3 times. It'd be nice to see our pit crew do what is expected of them most days and fall into this range where they are here, in that 2.4 range, fall into that average, or be better than average occasionally. Get a 2.3, a 2.43, or get a 2.3, right? Get a 2.3 with the occasional 2.6 or 2.5. It's they've definitely not been up to expectations so far this season. Is that pit crew manager impact adding to it? Is 2.4 actually a better than average day because the pit crew manager, not just the pit crew themselves and their levels, but the race engineers? Let's see, ability to communicate means faster affinity. So no, that's not something. It is, but they have great affinity. And great affinity. It's been a long time. That's practice sessions and understanding the car. Higher rating means better setup. Better setup means better bonuses for the driver. That's all it is bonuses for the driver. Driver becomes less likely to make mistakes. But that's it. So feedback is about bonuses for the driver. Now, we are seeing mistakes with Tanaka. It's less now than a year ago, and I'm guessing the communication piece and having that great affinity is part of that. But composure, it's the last one. Ability to remain focused in high-stress environments and to keep others focused. Higher rating means less driver confidence loss from negative events on track and more driver confidence gain from positive events on track. Again, nothing to do with pit stops. The engineer is all about the pairing with the driver and the driver's performance and their ability to find the setup. None of this impacts pit stops whatsoever. Time for a vote on regulation changes. A new sporting regulation change that would impact wind tunnel and testing time limits. Based on championship results, they would move towards what? More wind tunnel time for the top end and away from the bottom end?
Welcome to the beautiful Three Springs Valley, here in Hungary. We've arrived at the Hungaro Ring, located just outside Budapest. It's one of the shortest laps on the F1 calendar. Drivers are forced close together on this track, jostling for position and defending their space to the end.
It's time to do a full race weekend. The practice sessions, the qualifying sessions, and see if we can do more than the AI has done to set our team up for a successful race. It's alternating. It's been alternating throughout the season, but Brun is going to get Tanaka's FP1 session. I'm sending them both out on the hards. I'm not worried about backing off for extra life because we're using used components anyway. So we will go normal, though we certainly will not push. Knowledge is at 97%, so that will soon reach 100. And track acclimatization only matters for Flourish. This is all about nailing down the setup. But every once in a while, we get a good setup out of the quick simulation, but most of the time we do not. I should have a pretty easy time doing it this weekend, though throughout the whole cycle of F1 Manager 23, I think I've only run one practice session prior to this one, so it's been a while. Might be a little rusty with this one, but the process is going to ultimately be the same. We're not going to have great pace as we're looking at a powertrain of a 30, 38, 58 at a 24, 40, 73, and we're definitely not going to be pushing, especially as we run on hards for our first couple of stints out there. This is all about just nailing down those goals and pitting the moment we get to 5 out of 5. One of the biggest keys to success in your early sessions is to get out there and get as much running in as possible, but also drawing closer to what your goals and objectives are in terms of changing the setup, but not spending a lot of time. First lesson learned is we did not bring enough fuel out for this first run to be able to get all of the knowledge that we needed or wanted. So far, we've locked in 3 of them significantly closer. So big task here is we've already come in. Do I want to make minor changes and get out there and get more feedback since I'm here in the pits already, or do I send them back out to get those last 2, just get the fuel, and then off you go again later on? The biggest thing is car setup wise, not to do the big changes. For example, if we change, let's see, there. If we change anti-roll, time to configure becomes 4.5 minutes versus 30 seconds. That's 4.5. That's 4.5. But changing just the rear wings will change the setup and get us going again with new feedback while not adding to the time frame. So if we can change the wings, let's go ahead and start with that for this first session. What we're doing is adding 12 seconds to the pit stop, and that seems a smart way of doing it. And actually, to get the 21 laps of fuel, we're at 26 seconds anyway, so car setup wise seems a smart thing. We seem to be pushing towards this direction. And now with those quick changes, we're going to be able to get back out on track, get that knowledge, but also get that track acclimatization down that much faster. And we can definitely stretch the fuel farther also. If we do back off with the engine, the pace is not an important thing right now. Tire wear is getting pretty high for Brun, and she's doesn't have the smoothness just like Tanaka. But both drivers are getting really close right now. Having just hit the 5th feedback loop, having that complete, I immediately call in Brun. Flourish should be there anytime now. You have nothing to gain from continuing a run after you've gotten that 5th piece. Flourish is going to end up going one more lap around. And you can see how we're in FP1. This is pretty dang close to what I'm used to looking at the end of 3 practice sessions. We still have 14 minutes left of this session. Flourish still has not gotten around. She has to come in this lap because of low fuel, as Brun's already headed out once again to get us a little bit more. Now the tricky part for her is to get any of that feedback loop before the end of the session. For that, on the in lap, we did end up getting that 5th and final one. We're already set here. We're at great and great. However, we have got to make a change to start a new loop. So we will make a small change. In between the practice sessions is the perfect time to make those big adjustments. The stability, cornering, traction, setup changes. Currently, we don't know where exactly we fall into, but it's mostly about narrowing the window down anyway. So as we head out for FP2, we've made adjustments to those harder to adjust areas, and we get ourselves on a good run. FP1, it's really important not to spend that extra time. FP2 becomes a little bit easier to maybe justify spending that time, uh, but it's definitely FP3 where you need to have things nailed down. So it's not bad to spend this session. But as we're on the mediums, it's another long run, and as the mediums degrade faster, especially for Tanaka, who's getting her first run of the day, we really need to slow things down for her so that she can prolong the life and stay out there longer. Getting fairly close to locking in the setup for the race weekend here already in just FP2. Right now, the trick is trying to be able to go as long as we can on these mediums so that the softs can get us to the end of this practice session with only using the 2 sets of tires. We know they're not going to make it that long, and Tanaka in particular is so weak on the compounds that we really have to kind of stretch it with her while getting as much feedback as we can on this stint before we go and turn around and pit again and change things up. Well past halfway through the session now, though, so the life we need for the softs is not as bad at this point. Flourish looks like we're going to be pretty comfortable on her timing, but Tanaka at 31%. I want to get that third part of the feedback loop before we end up pitting. Now that it's FP3 and the 2 areas in particular that we can quick adjust are out of adjustments, from here, now we're going to have to waste that 4 minutes. We're going to have to make that fine-tuned adjustment just to get more out of the car. We're at only 81%. The cornering is that far off, which means it's definitely towards the other end that we need to be. The braking stability and traction are pretty dang close. And we're up to 96% for Flourish. The track acclimatization and the setup satisfaction are very, very close. This is probably the most prepared that we have seen her, or very close to the most prepared we've seen her in all of these seasons, just by simply taking on a single race weekend. Okay, if we're going to go from great to optimal, obviously the range is incredibly small on the cornering one. It's the braking stability that could get us a little bit more, but with half an hour, there's plenty of time to get after it. And the track acclimatization also, we could probably stop her running early, but we won't know if we've quite nailed it in unless we get to that 5:05. We're going to go out early for our first run here in Q1, and apparently, got the wrong components on Tanaka's car. That's not going to help her qualifying. Let's hope Flourish does better. I was very confused by them requiring me to run hards, and everybody's running the hards, so I guess that's where we're at. Got a lock up from Flourish. We've got a problem with the I think we want to call the car in on Tanaka. She's already made a mistake on the lap. It's not going to be a good lap as it is. Let's save the tires a little bit and hope that Flourish has put in a pretty decent lap for us. Yeah, huge waste of life on that tire. And if that's all you get for Q1, Tanaka has no chance right now. And I've somehow messed up the engine situation, confused by us being restricted to the hards here. So she has no chance of putting in a top time. But we'll send her out with a little less wear on those tires than the in-lap would provide, knowing that she's already messed up that lap. Flourish is not last. Others have made mistakes or had issues with their laps, so keeping an eye on her. There you go, Tanaka flying lap complete. About 0.2 of a second slower with the extra lap, but others have managed to speed it up. Everybody's within a second except for us. Just ahead of us. Magnus and Dragovic still behind, but their second runs have gone faster. We are waiting till the end of the session on this one for higher grip, better chance to maybe get a second run in, but it looks like it's about time to head out. Down to the last 2 positions, our normal spot to be. Can we get any faster on this lap with the used hards? Really comes down to that first one. Flourish quicker in both. She did move up one spot. One spot. And Tanaka technically on a third run. It's too little, too late for her. Albin's carrying a penalty, or no, that's probably just the bubble. Typical back of the grid start for us, though we should have a good setup on the car.
There's a fantastic atmosphere at the Hungaro Ring as we prepare for 70 laps of the Hungarian Grand Prix. This is it, the Hungarian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Got a bug affecting one of the Haas cars for this race weekend. It's Dragovic, who crashed in FP1 or FP2. He's fine now, but the sparks are flying as if he's just had that incident, so it's carried over through the race weekend. For Flourish, we are going for the soft, medium, hard strategy today, trying to be aggressive and move forward and then hang on. For Tanaka, we're going to do the opposite and hang on with a medium hard and be faster at the end in the softs. That's going to put her behind. It's going to be harder for her to keep up. We'll see if she can at least stay in DRS range. We know that her biggest weakness, besides control, is defending. So it's hard for her to keep positions once she's picked them up. So starting on the back foot a little bit and being faster and going forward seems to work okay for Tanaka. She knows how to get through the grid. It's just, can she actually hang on to the group? And right now the answer is probably not. She's already well over a second down here. Is anybody else on the mediums? Yeah, the car right in front of her is. Porsche's on the hards even. Wow. Alright, well, it's time to settle in our world of sparks. It's going to be an interesting light show for this particular race, but we've got to get our overheating issue under control before we bother to do any pushing in future laps. So by lap 7, we've managed to get Zhou out of DRS range about 5 times now, and he keeps getting DRS anyway. Apparently coming out of this hairpin, he's getting enough of an acceleration boost that by the time he goes into the detection zone, he's taken that 1.1, that 1.2, and turned it into like 0.99 half a dozen times, and just stayed in range. Otherwise, he would have fallen off by now, and Tanaka, who was actually closing up on Zhou, would probably be right there with him, and right now possibly running 19th with Zhou back there, as they're both on that same strategy. Zhou has not kept up. Yeah, like I said, that 0.99 is the only possible way that he's done anything of the sort, but going forward, not going to be easy at the moment. Let's go ahead and top up for a bit, as we are easily in this traffic and staying behind them, but not moving forward naturally. So let's give ourselves a little bit of battery so we can try to make some forward push here through traffic. Alright, let's slow things down. Ahead of us, Albin temporarily goes out of DRS range and then suddenly just goes right back into it. But we do have a little bit of extra battery. This might be a time to try to make a push, but DRS is not going to do us any good, so it's kind of a slippery slope on that, as everybody around us has DRS. With all the big trains, Piastri leading this one, maybe Magnussen falling out. These guys are inching their way out of DRS. We just saw Albin more than a second down, and flap opens anyway. It looked like he was more than a second down at the detection zone. Going around the outside, Norris picks up the penalty. It was Norris, not Sainz, so that was a battle for the lead. And we have overtaken Alex Albin. Get back here. Back to topping up. And that's one overtake complete. 15th position. Tanaka is 16th, by the way, with those pitting. And that gap opens to Magnussen, but we had less than a second to the car ahead. We should have the flap open right now. We do not! What? Detection zone, we were well within a second. Come on. Car peels off. We should have still had DRS with the car peeling off, and instead Joe, who was well over a second behind, gets DRS and flies by. We were 0.5 behind, and he was 1.3 behind, and he just flies right on by. And our flap's closed, and his is open. And of course, now we're 1.2 behind, too, because he got a double dose of DRS, which we didn't get. And we've lost, what, 4 positions in 1.5 laps.
Now this was at turn 1.
Dragovic.
The cars
He's going to have damage for
jostling
real
position.
now. Well, that's 100% Dragovic's fault
That's
also.
obviously far from-
He just ran wide on the exit. Tanaka's at 35% and Florsch on the softs is pitting. And that's mediums. So Tanaka is not faring well with the 2-stop strategy. She's going to end up being on a 3-stop strategy. 2.6? What did I say about pit stops? We are consistently off of what is average, and we're never ahead of it. Florsch comes out in 18th. Second and a half behind Albin, who we had already overtaken. Behind Magnussen, behind Piastri. Tanaka now at 30%. 2 laps away from when she's supposed to pit. I think we're going to try to squeeze it out. Last thing we need for her is a 3-stop strategy. Even if she's losing an additional 3 to 4 seconds. Tanaka now holding up traffic, but Florsch has been overtaken and is now 19th. As we've closed that gap up. That slingshot finishing the job as Magnussen gets around Tanaka. Florsch is already almost up on her. That's how much ground she lost, and it's 1 more lap to go. Here comes Florsch going around the outside of Maloney. Maloney's on softs. Makes a little more sense, but we backed out of it under braking, even though we had the ability to stay alongside, but I guess softs do have a little bit better grip. Can we get an average stop? Still no. 2.53. A tenth off of average. So far today we are averaging 1.5 tenths off of average. We can't even manage to do a simple thing as have an average pit stop. Joe must have had a problem. Up 1 position. Albin will be an easy overtake, especially if Maloney pulls out of DRS range. And has. Very much has. So we're going to have to push on again to slingshot forward. We're nearly making the overtake anyway. No battery. But without DRS, Albin should be a sitting duck here. Yeah, easily along the outside. And we'll have DRS again right here. As it's interconnected. And Maloney is going to be dropping off that 60% threshold here pretty soon, so we should be able to come back towards Maloney pretty soon. But just disappointing with what happened with the DRS there. Tanaka with a mistake. There goes her... Yeah, there goes her driver confidence. But now Albin's in DRS range, and we're out. We're that far behind Albin. What's going on, Florsch? You forget how to drive in 1 lap? She's going to go backwards. Albin slingshots all the way up to Maloney and then overtakes him. Getting within DRS range, though, as Maloney is starting to make that backwards march already. Okay, we got a little bit there. Maloney had slipped out of DRS range. Tanaka's well off the back, by the way. We did fix the components. Not on the used ones. She just lacks pace, especially here on the hards. Flourish going by Maloney. Okay, here we go. On attack. On board. Neutral. Keep pushing for now. 1.4 behind Magnuson. Keep pushing. Out of DRS range of Albin. And inside 1 second. Balanced. Aggressive. Keep closing. Standard. Okay, I want to wait one more lap though. It's gonna happen, or it's happening already. On her own, Flourish is getting around Magnuson. Temporarily P11, but realistically I think we're looking at about P14 right now. But there's cars that are pitting. Are they on? Oh yeah, they're all coming out on hards. Oh, come on. If you don't give it away to Gasly and let the double overtake happen on you. Weak without DRS there. Jeez. But the good news is Gasly's just flown by. Off to the races. Bad news is that's an Aston Martin. That's the team we're supposed to be competing with. Finally get an average stop. Finally we do. 2.421. That is an average stop, and it's the quickest one of the day because we are the fastest on paper. Go aggressive. Got a nice full battery. We're not too far off on fuel recovery. And we are good to go the distance, but we're 18th. 8 seconds behind the nearest car. So Piastri, we're always behind. But here goes Albin, here goes Zhou. Yeah, there goes Maloney. Come on, Flourish. Ay, ay, ay. Fastest lap from Maloney. That DRS thing certainly hurt us, but it was a handful of seconds. Right now, that is the difference between Piastri and being behind Maloney. It's Tanaka. It's Tanaka. She's out of the race.
We've got a yellow flag here.
It involved another car. No idea how that's happening. She's in last place. This would be a blue flag situation. So somebody coming up behind and
they'll have to pick themselves up after that.
Hitting her from behind. Throwing her into the wall. Like, seriously? Now the question is, do I pit? Because I'm hating the pace. Just pit. And we're already good to go the distance. Like, we're done pitting. Giving up the time and pitting now isn't going to do us any good. But let's get the fuel so we can push. Let's get the battery. As we go racing once again, no penalties were given. And I actually understand that one, even though it's 100% the fault of the AlphaTauri that hit Tanaka. 100% their fault. She clearly did nothing wrong, except, oh wait, she did. Right? That would have been a blue flag situation. But was she lap? She was a lap down? Wasn't a lap down? Was that not? Was that Albin that hit her? We're going to have to overtake Maloney and just keep right on going. P16 at the moment. That would give us P15. That would get us ahead of one team on the day. Fortunately for Aston Martin, Gasly in 10th, but Sargent's out of it. Magnuson pits, so that's P15. We've nearly caught Maloney as it is without even pushing. It would almost be nice to do that, to make the overtake happen without a push, so that we can then use the following lap to push and drive away. So he's gone around Sargent. Sargent's more of a sitting duck, clearly, off the pace. Again, we look for the overtake. Still overheating, still behind. Another opportunity. Another opportunity up the inside. This time we're going to make it stick, and this time we're going to get DRS. No, we're not going to make it stick. Please make it stick. There you go. Now, go. Go, 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 go. 13th. But we've got to pull away. We have got to keep attacking right now. Even though we are overheating, we have got to keep attacking. Over a second ahead of Maloney. Easing off. 1.3 ahead of Maloney. 1.4 behind Piastri. 1.3. But we've got a cool down. 1.2. 1.1. Let's use this to push. Yes, I know. Tires overheating. 1.0. We're inside a second, but we're not going to have DRS here. Next lap. Guess what? I've ignored Tanaka so completely that I forgot that she retired from the race. I looked over going, oh yeah, right? Tanaka. Looked over. Car retired. Worthless. 0.4 behind. We are going to have to push and get into clean air soon. But I don't mind harvesting. And now deploying. We've got the overtake, so we need to just go attack and get away. 0.6. No. Again, the double DRS just brings them up anyway. Conserve. He's going to overtake us. He's going to re-overtake us. We're going to have to redo it here later. We gotta back off, and now just try to hold them off, try to defend. It's lap 66. That fuel's gotta get right. Look, we're almost as far away as we were anyway. Go normal. Oh, I said go normal. We'll have one more lap to go after this one. Yeah, still lap 69. Don't overtake, don't overtake, don't overtake. Yellow flag. Uh-oh. Flourish. Piastri. Touched.
Got a yellow flag.
Will we get penalized for this simple little thing?
Into turn one. With not
Corners
much
are...
room to move.
He needed to tuck in behind us. We're almost 100% ahead of him. Okay, feels good. Neutral. Let's hope we don't get penalized. We'll need 5 seconds if that's the case. .4 ahead of Piastri right now. Just about 2 seconds further to Dragovic, but right now we could drop all the way to 15th. Gasly's out of the points, down to 11th, so Aston Martin is not going to score points today. That's good for us. Okay, now on to that final lap. 3 seconds ahead of Piastri. I'm pushing just in case that 5-second penalty does come along. Final lap, deploy. Not much fuel to make a push, but we'll try to make one after the chicane briefly. Or actually probably about here. That's the longest straight we have the rest of the way. 4 seconds ahead of Dragovic. Get more than 5 seconds ahead. We are safe. We are secure. We are pushing on our longest straight the rest of the way. And now neutral. .6 ahead of Dragovic, so at least Piastri is out of range, but that would still be Haas ahead of us. 4.7. Okay, we get 12th place, 4.8. Okay, no sign of a penalty, though. It was not given before the end of the race. That should do it. We did not. It appears we did not get a penalty. We do secure P12. Not a bad day as far as things go. That little moment with the DRS detection zone. The only thing I can see is that they're counting the car as off the track by that point, even though the detection zone is before the pit entry. So he was still on the track, and we were 0.5 seconds behind. So I don't know, but we do get and secure that P12 for the day, beating 2 teams out beating Magnussen, beating Albin, beating Sargent, almost in the points, almost, but we were still, about 15 seconds shy of that. We've finished further down the grid and been 2 seconds away from the top 10 before. But today was not one of those days where we got a lot of help. The only DNF was our own driver taken out by another driver. But again, if it's a blue flag situation, it's kind of her fault for not getting out of the way. In a normal racing situation, it's 100% the fault of the other driver. No penalties were given. We only saw one penalty all day. The driver impacted in the crash was Leclerc and one of the Alpines. They still both ended up finishing in the top 4. They barely touched wheels. So a almost incident-free day, with the only actual incident being our one car being wiped out and managing to get 12th. Usually it takes us help, takes us assistance to get up that high, especially when it's not like we qualified 14th and eked our way forward to 12th. Qualified 18th. Ran 18th. Just before our first pit stop, we pushed it up to virtual 17th. Somebody had already pit by that point. 1 or 2 cars, but we had overtaken a single car in that first stint. We slowly made our way forward on that grid and had one bad luck moment that cost us 4 seconds. Right? That 4 seconds did not make a significant difference other than the fact that, battling Dragovic up until just before the end would have been more of a probably comfortable in the gap between Gasly and Dragovic. That handful of seconds getting away a little bit earlier, but really we only got away because we touched wheels, or his wing touched our left rear. Hence the no penalty. He gets what he deserves for not getting out of the way type scenario is the more likely outcome on that one. By that point, we were significantly ahead that we owned that corner. We've seen incidents where things were much closer together. He really didn't have a right to that corner at that point. That's how the modern rules work anyway. But we were closing up on Gasly pretty fast. Had we been that 4 seconds further up the road, we're still 5.5 down. I don't think we're catching him. But a few more laps, we are. Hadjar seemed to be going backwards pretty quick too. So 10th place was not so far out of reach. But without that help, without that few cars missing, points just weren't to be had today. Good performance, still amounts to nothing other than an actual medium confidence kind of day. We finished 8th of 10 constructors on the day, and that's enough to not make the team angry, but it's not enough to make them happy either. But at least Aston Martin did not score. It was a worrying day for me as they had qualified 9th and 10th, but we escaped that one. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.